Interesting topics, really.
Yeah, okay. So welcome all. This is the first one in May and our 40th PCA open discussion that we have done till now. Uh, Today as in last week, I was focusing on what's new in the product as we discussed last week. And to my surprise, I didn't pay attention to this, but there are quite a good amount of changes in how permissions and permission set are changed in Business Central. So we may spend good amount of time on that. And then one of the cool feature that I thought that was added was mail merge, and it was super important for some customers in the past, and that is added in a great way into the product. So we'll see what that is, and then there are some small topics that we'll just cover those as we go forward. So let's go to the through the normals. Where do you register? You register here. The links get updated after this meeting. Exactly after this meeting, I update these links. If you are in the meeting and don't want to keep this check on your mind that I have to register every week, just drop your name and email in the chat and I'll add you into the default attendee list so that you don't have to go and register every week. You'll be automatically invited going forward. And yes, again, this came this week again. This links expires on Friday, every Friday at 3 p.m. And then there's a automation, Power Automate, which sends this meeting invite. So it's not in my control. I'm not doing it manually, but that all is scheduled. So I can't just change it, as in I'll have to change the whole flow that I have built around it. So if you missed it to register, just drop me a tweet or on LinkedIn somewhere and I'll forward you the invite. But I can't change this time because that's how I have set it up on Power Automate. Okay. Still, I guess Directions Asia registrations are still available, free for everybody, every partner. So you can go and get registered for Directions Asia 2021. That is coming up on May 4th and 5th. It's online due to COVID, and it's only for partners, not for customers. Okay, so without wasting any time, let's talk about some topics. What's changed in Business and Leading? The simple one, I guess, that would be easy to explain is the printer selection. So eight with all these Business Central version, Microsoft keeps on adding things for report printing for sure, and one of them being including the email printers and universal printer, which are now available with the product. Let me see, I might have some for testing. So yeah, there is email print. So if you have an email printer, you can set up that printer here with the details of that printer, the email address and all, and then that can be used for printing your documents. The other which I haven't used, but there's something called as universal print, which takes you to Azure, I guess, where you map your printer that can be utilized for printing your documents. But having said that, from Dynamics Nav, we have this printer selection where we can set that which report will be using which printer. And even we can say that which user using which report will be using which printer. Or specifically, we can say that this user, all the reports from this user will always go to a specific printer. And that's an old setup which was there in Dynamics Nav also. And that still exists. What's changed in Business Central 18 is now at the time of printing any report. Let's go to sales invoices. If you go to, or maybe let's go to posted sales invoices. I have set that report selections for it. And if I do a print of a report or any report now, which have a layout, you see this, there is a, on the top, there is a printer icon or printer selection dialog. It will set the value if it finds a report selection for that report or for that user by default. But then user will have flexibility to choose the printer before it actually gets printed. So you don't have to go and update your printer selection if if you want your users to utilize this feature, and define which printer will be used for running any report. And I'm pretty sure that this applies to every report which have a printable output. So let's see if there is customer top 10 list and what's inside there. So yeah, here also you see that option. So this option is defaulted to every report where there is a printable output, and which makes life easier for the users that they can choose the printer before running the report. So that was a smaller but quite useful enhancement. If you think from the user perspective, may not be so big of a change as a partner or as a developer, but for a user it seems pretty useful. I've seen people people are super happy with this feature. Okay, so now let's talk about new objects. We briefly talked about it in the last meeting, where we understood how we can do some permissions and permission sets, and then via AL objects, and what different notifications or different uh, characters mean in that file. But when I went a little bit deep into it and tried to understand it, so Microsoft have kind of changed it in a way that it's now at 3 level that a permission is controlled in Business Central. And the first one is the entitlement. Now we all know that permission sets were collections of permission. So a permission set will provide you a permission on a set of objects that are required for that particular permission set. But on top of it, now there is a separate layer called entitlement, which is a collection of multiple permission set. This only available on SaaS and currently limited to be used by Microsoft. But when you go through it and try to understand it, this is going to be expanded for the ISV developers or ISV partners, so that they can define their entitlements and limit what objects can be used if you purchase this kind of module or if you purchase this kind of option. So it's kind of a work in progress, but it defines that path to the future where people will be able to monetize directly using it's now not that direct that you can set up your monetization for your app, but with entitlement into picture going forward, this will make it super simple, because now partners will be able to kind of set that up on their apps. So let's open business and AL code, and let's see what we can do there. As in, we are sure that we cannot build entitlements as of today, but let's try to see what's available or what's in there for entitlement. Okay, so let me get my details of my launch. Okay, I'll zoom this in, and that's not visible. Okay, so I'll just utilize this and download symbols. Okay, so for entitlement, what Microsoft have done, as in we can't use it as a partner community, but we'll be able to use it in future. There is a snippet available called T entitlement, I guess. So let's do that. T entitlement. And these are the parameters that you need out of it, which is you need a name for your entitlement, what type of entitlement it is. So you see that there are different kind of payment options in that type. Is it per user service plan? Is it flat rate service plan? Is it role based, or is it concurrent user services? So you have all that options in the type. And then if it is role based, then you need to choose the role type. And then you need to give it a GUID to determine the unique ID of this entitlement. And then the objects part, or the permission set which are part of this entitlement. So as I said earlier, that it is used by Microsoft as of today. So what's best is to look it into the base app, how Microsoft is using it. So this is kind of an extract of the base Microsoft app. And if I look in here, that's an entitlement. So this is an entitlement for per user service plan called Dynamics 365 Central Premium Embedded Base App. What that entitlement allows you to access objects which are defined in these permission sets, even if you are a super user. You can't go beyond what is defined in your entitlement. So entitlement kind of will act as a parent layer for the permission that every user will have in the Business Central environment. So does that make sense, or is it confusing at this point?
Well, not confusing, just a question about the role type. What is it exactly?
Sorry, role type?
Yeah, if we go to hello, what that?
Okay, yeah, this one. Okay, so let me find, and this was covered in the launch event. If you haven't paid attention to it, but I had the slide deck for that. I just downloaded it from there. So if I come to the role based, here it is. These are the different kind of types. So like, is it based on the license that you have purchased for Business Central, right? That's one option. And based on the subscription, is it a device based license or is it a group? And then role is based on what role you have. Are you a global admin in your AAD, as in Azure Active Directory, or you are a Dynamics 365 administrator? So they are kind of dividing these different types of entitlement based on this property. As a role type gets into it, like local or delegated, that means, are you a delegated administrator like as a partner, or you are an administrator for your customer as a from a customer perspective? Then you become the local admin.
Okay, well, do you think we can have the slides?
Sorry?
Do you think we can have the slides, these slides?
I can, yeah, I can surely send it. It's from Microsoft on that launch event. So yeah, either you can get it from there or I can send it to you. Not a problem. Okay, so the thing that I was explaining you was also here, that if your entitlement, and this is just an example, limits you to not to use or not to have insert permissions on the sales price table, then even if your permission set says so, the user will not have access to it. So it's kind of acting as a parent. Whatever is defined in entitlement, permission sets can only, even if they don't adhere to what entitlement is saying, user will not have that access.
So if I get this straight,
And people who are coming,
I'm sorry, I'm just
go ahead,
trying to understand. So entitlement will definitely override the permission set.
Yeah, so permission set will be child of entitlement.
Okay.
So even if I assign a user a permission set where he can modify the sales price table, but if entitlement is saying no, that your license that you have purchased from Microsoft doesn't allow you to do that, then you'll not be able to do that.
Okay, sounds clear.
And even a super user cannot do that. So even if I'm a super user on my customer tenant, I cannot override what's defined in entitlement.
Okay.
So people who are coming from nav, we all assume that super means super everywhere, right?
Yeah.
We have all the rights in the database, but even the super user will be limited at entitlement. They can't just go and start changing or accessing things if that is not defined in the entitlement that they are assigned to. Now, this is right now limited only for Microsoft use, but it'll be open to the partner community for partners who are building um, apps for app stores, that they will be able to use entitlement for their apps. Okay.
So Saurabh,
Now, go
then we
ahead.
can't modify the data using the code also.
Ye- Using the code also. Yes, if it is no in entitlement, then you will not be able to do that. Because for from the code we always use that indirect permission, right, to
Yeah, yeah.
achieve that situation.
Mhm.
Now if we look into this, even if the modifier is no, then that remains no, as in you can't just I'll have to test it by building an extension,
Mhm.
but I'll need to check which table is not part of any entitlement that I have on my Docker, or I
Okay.
might have to set that up in a Azure instance or Business Center Online instance to find out first what's not an entitlement. But having said that, as of today, how we check which entitlements are assigned to my users? Because I tried it doing on Docker, but I can't do it on Docker. I guess that's how it is. But if you have a SaaS environment like I have this demo environment, and you go to your users, okay, and you find a user like this, you can see, click on this effective permission page. This tells you all the permission that you have per object wise. But if you come down on the same page, it tells you the entitlement that you are attached to. So that's where we'll start seeing the entitlement that are assigned to every user based on what how we have purchased those user licenses and assigned on the admin portal. So this is the only place where you can see what entitlements are assigned to that particular user and what kind of permission that they are giving on that. Okay.
Just a quick question though. Is there such thing as entitlements extension?
No, there's not yet. And the reason is very simple, that if I'm defining an entitlement, I cannot do it as a partner. I can only do it if I am an app developer on app source. And I cannot modify an entitlement defined by Microsoft on any ISVs in future. And that's the whole concept of entitlement, right?
Yeah.
And you
I
can't
thought
extend at the parent level.
that's it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that was neat. This will start impacting us in future, not today majorly. But then when I watched this session from Microsoft about this, I was surprised because I thought permission and permission set was just a new object that were added. And let's understand first where I completely got confused while I was testing this out today. Is I can create a permission or a permission set, as we talked in the last meeting that we had, that we can just come here and let's create a permission set and using the permission set and give it a number, and then let's call it something. This is my permission set. Now assignable is another new property that I learned, as in is this a permission that can be assigned by administrator to different user, and that is defined by using this assignable feature. So now you can have permission set which are not assignable, but you might use them to maintain your entitlements. So you define a permission set and you say, okay, these permission set are not supposed to be assigned, and they include these permission set so that you restrict at that level. But at the same time, as we discussed last week, and we'll see this include permission set later, that we can define the permissions here using the syntax. What object type it is? So let's create one. Let's say table data. What object type? Customer. And what kind of permission, which is like this. If you want to give a direct permission, to direct write on that permission, you use the caps on for read, insert, modify, delete. If you want to give an indirect permission, then let's say you can do RMID. If you only want to give, let's say, read and delete, then let's say you do RD. And the cool thing is that there are situations where we want to give permission for all pages, because we don't want to kind of limit it from the page perspective. All the permission that I want to collect or kind of configure is based on the table data. So in those situations, there is a wildcard also. We can say page X, page star, have execute permission. Now what that means is all the pages, like page 0 that you'll give in your Dynamics Nav environment. So now you can just say page star X, which will create, and let's publish this, which will create a permission set, in this case called bcopendiscussion, and will have all the rights that we have defined here, plus we'll have a page 0 right, so that that user can access everything from the page perspective. So if I come here to my permission set, I'll see that there is a permission set. Okay, where that is. Okay, here it is. So if I see the permissions of it right now, it tells me that I have currency table with read and delete. I have a vendor table with indirect of everything, because these are small cases, and a customer with a read, write, insert, modify with yes here. And then because I did a page star X, that gives me execute on all pages. So will you understand, as in from the perspective of creating these permission set, how this will work, right? The other thing that we were trying to do last week, which we were not able to do for certain reasons, is I can also create my let's create one more permission set where we can use the other property. So if I create a file 0101 and let's call it my permission set, and I say that I want to include bcopendiscussions into it, which is an existing permission set. In addition to that, I want this permission set to be table data of currency. I guess we talked about it last week. I just wanted to show you guys this RMID. What will happen when I publish this, that this permission set will include all the permission that comes from bcopendiscussion permission set, but will append the currency with direct read, insert, modify, and delete permission. And that is the scenario that I was explaining you last week, that whenever you are doing a assign include permission set, or we'll talk about the permission set extension, make sure that the changes that you're doing will the first thing, that they'll only be additive, and the second thing, how permission works, we all know that they always take the maximum that is available. So in this case, where currency was only limited to read and delete, because I have included this, now currency will have every permission in my permission set. So if I do a filter on permission set, on the name, permission set, yeah. And if I see this, it'll have all the permission that are coming from the included permission set, which is defined already. And then it also have updated the currency permission set to be direct because it took whatever was the maximum available. Does that make sense? Keep that in mind. Now, the last thing here before we get into the confusion where I actually got confused is the permission set extension. So you can do the permission set extension, and that will allow you to extend even a base Microsoft permission.
Well, I do have a question. So,
Yeah.
we're just using this file. What about if we get to use, the permission set on a different file and we want to include that?
You can. That's not a problem. Okay, so let's do this. Let's cut this off, save this, and let's create a new file. I'll just .al. Okay, we'll see that. Okay, so let me remove the filters here, and so that we can see all, and then we can pick one where we can easily identify is this happening or not. So there are some easy ones which don't have much permissions. Let's say, I guess there is something with ADCS, something like that. Let me see. Name. Those have very limited permissions. Oh no. Okay. Okay, so we have this permission, and I'm pretty sure that there are very few permissions into it, which is 5 objects. Okay, so it'll be easy to check. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to extend this permission set called D365 ADCS edit. So what I can do here is I can say that it extends D365 ADCS edit. And then I say that I want to include BC open discussion. And additionally, maybe I want, let's say, code unit. Sorry. Code unit. Why it is not responding? Okay. IntelliSense should support me. It is not. I can say code unit. Let's say sales post. Okay, or sales post management. And then I want to give execute. Okay. So what will happen when I publish this is this permission set will get updated and will include anything that is available in BC open discussion, which is all these. Plus, it'll also add the sales batch post management execute permission into D365 ADCS edit. Okay, so now if I go to my permission set and search for name star ADCS, okay, and if I check the permission, I'll see that all these permissions are added. Plus, I also got a code unit 1371. So that way, we are now able to extend this. At the point I was able to do this, now the question is, and I still have that question, that what is the situation where you actually would like to do this? Now, the reason behind that question is that I cannot modify a permission as in users, administrator on our customers cannot modify a permission if they are tagged as system. So what would be the scenario? And I'm still thinking about it, and maybe next week I'll have an answer about it. What would be a scenario where you would like to extend the permission set of the base permission? There is one benefit for sure, that I don't have to add new permission to the user because he already had this permission and now he got the BC open discussion permission. That's the only benefit. But if this is not the permission that user wanted on these objects that we just added, the administrator cannot change these because this is tagged as of type system. So I'm still thinking about that base scenario, or that scenario where this will make sense. Anybody has an idea where this can be utilized, this permission set and all?
Well, not really.
I'm still thinking what's the plan behind it, but maybe it'll take some time for us to figure it out. But let's talk about where I got confused. The confusion started at this screen. So if you've paid attention to this screen, and if you have a Business Central 17 container or a Business Central 17 SaaS environment, go to permission set page and you'll first never see this extension name here. So that's a new addition, and I thought, okay, that's okay. It's just bringing the source of that extension name. But we just published this extension called AL Project 38. So that means it's an extension. So if I filter out on extension name on this page, the thing to notice here is the type of this permission is system. It's not extension. Till now, till Business Central 17, any permission that we used to build here as an XML, they'll always come here tagged as extension. Or if a user will create a new permission set, that will be tagged as user defined. And system was a tag reserved for all the Microsoft permission that they used to create. I guess everybody knew about this, right? That these were the three different categories of permission and permission set which were available. So what I did at this point is I actually, go ahead. Somebody was saying something?
Nope, not me.
Okay. So what I did at this point, because I got completely confused, is I went back to SQL to see what's happening, because this made no sense to me. That was my assumption that was happening. So when I come down here, and this is my Docker SQL, and when I check my tenant permission set, I saw even the permission set which are defined by extension, plus mine was not here, which was named as bcopendiscussion.
Oh, right, yeah.
So then I went back and saw the old base Microsoft table called permission. It only had super. Same for permission set. There was only one permission called super. So the permission and permission set table, which is the base Microsoft table, which till previous version used to store all Microsoft permission set or any permission set which is tagged as system, now only contain one permission, that is super. And the tenant permission set have the permissions which are coming as an XML from these extension. Other than these, every permission set that we are seeing in Business Central 18 at this point are part of code. They are written as code and they are not stored inside database as they used to be in the previous version. So if you go back into the base app, because most of the permissions come from base app, you will see that the permission set is a complete pack of things that are added in the base app also. So Microsoft have transformed all their permission set into code. So they are no longer part of your databases.
Well, what would happen if I migrate to the database?
That's what I was coming to. So I went back to Microsoft session, again watched that session. I thought I missed something. And then I actually missed something. So what happened with Business Central 18 is Microsoft added a Boolean for on-prem, and this is only for on-prem, that they get an option to choose from Do they want a new style of permission set or the old style of permission set? So in your settings file, in your service settings file, if by default this property will be set to true, called use permission set from extension. And if it is true, then you can only have permissions as code, not as data. Okay, so for on-prem installation, developers who are supporting the customers on-prem still, keep this setting in mind while you are upgrading your customers, because this means at this point, if this is set to true, system will start using the permission and will start looking for permission in the code, not as data. Now we'll say that we have so many permission. What should I do? Right? So Microsoft have put something on the Git library, and that is this PowerShell command. Go ahead, utilize this. There are people who are responding to question. I guess Waldo did the recent fix, one of the fix on it. But the idea of this PowerShell command is to convert your legacy permission set into your AL code. As of today, I haven't heard the word that this feature or this permission set, the way it is handled, will change in future. There is no info about it. But the new model is available, and there is a conversion script available to convert your legacy permission set into the new style of permission set. I'm not saying start getting worried, but if you have a Business Central 18 customer whom you are upgrading or implementing and you still want to use the permission set in the older ways, then you can set this to false on-prem. And if you set it to false, it'll start using the old structure where all your permission and permission set data is stored as data into your database, not as code. Does that make sense?
It does, but why did they just, opt?
Or does that answer your question?
It does answer, but I'm just asking, why did they just give this ability to create permissions within the code?
And here is the reason why they said it, and I'll share the slide, I guess. So the first thing is it was hard to manage as data, like, so let's say you created, and it is not for extension or system permission, but let's say you created a user-defined permission where you gave permission for some objects which came from Microsoft or from an ISV extension. And tomorrow those objects get removed for some reason. Microsoft planned to drop them or ISV planned to drop them. And those legacy junk data was always available inside that, right? From the Microsoft side, I heard that it helps them while they have to kind of see that, during your upgrade, you did some wrong data update, and now you'll have to update the permission. Merging them was impossible. Now, because that is code, so you can always do a compare and merge and get those permission in if required. So there was so many issues when you come from legacy nav to Business Central, specifically around permission. That, these are obsolete and this is not required or this is wrongly done. And with the code, it gives you a possibility where you can create a layer of permission. Like as a partner, you can say, I suggest that this should be a salesperson permission set. Now, when you go to implement your customer, you can start referring to that base permission set as we did here on this example, which we are doing. Let me open my app. So I can consider this as, let's assume this is your recommendation to be a permission set for salesperson. And now you have it as a code. Tomorrow you go to a customer and you say, okay, this is what we recommend. And they say, we need one more table into it. So you can just kind of extending this into a new permission set and your core layer is still remaining intact.
Yeah.
So that also gives you, as in permissions were always a problem. I haven't seen a customer who had no problems with permission. People are always having tough time with the permission. And there was very less knowledge. What is the best way? Even I don't have that knowledge. What is the best way to set these permissions for different user groups? So with the code, this gives you a flexibility to kind of create a layer of permission set that you think are relevant to different kind of users, and then keep on adding on it as the product changes. Okay. Any questions on this? I'll surely place a slide deck there.
Yes, do you hear me?
Yeah.
So that means any permission defined by the user will be also stay as extension, or what will happen?
No, so if you create a permission here, which I haven't, so that's a good question, Avinav. Let's Avinash, sorry. Let's create a new permission set and let's see what happens. I'm pretty sure it'll be tagged as user defined, which is already done.
Yeah, user defined, definitely.
But they will not be stored in the data, or will they be? Let's see. That's a good question. No, they'll be stored in data in the tenant permission set, I guess. Okay. So let's assign a permission of, let's say, 18, 23. Okay. So this is my test permission, and let me go back to my SQL and refresh this query. So see, it's actually getting stored in the table. So when user creates it for him, for your user, there is no change how they use the system. As in, when I looked at it for the first time in Business Central 18, I thought, okay, they just added objects, but there's no change because it doesn't change anything on the front end. For user, it's the similar behavior. As even as a partner, I was not able to notice it until unless I went to SQL and saw these tables. These are actually empty. So yeah, as in for user defined, does that answer your question, Avinash?
Yeah, it depends.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I was like a little bit confused because I know that when user like do personalization at that time, it creates extension, right? So when they do,
Yes, no, not yet. but I think that may be path for the future, because I don't know, but I'm I have no idea. But if they are planning to kind of emptying these tables, which they have already done, it seems, then maybe in future they move to that model, Abhinash, that you're saying, that they might create an extension behind the scene when a new permission set is created. So that's a possibility. Let's see how that goes in future. But yeah, at this point, no panic. There, you can still use the old model. There's no deadline set when it is going to expire, or is it even going to expire or not. And just keep that in mind that you have to, let me go to my slide deck, that you have to set this parameter, which is this use permission set from extension to false in your on-prem installation, so that your permission set and permission data is still stored as data, not as code. Any other questions at this point?
So basically, in the long run, the user-defined permission is going to be deleted. In future, if you will.
User-defined permission set?
Yeah.
What you said after that? They're going to be deleted? No, they are not. That's what Avinash bringing to table, which I completely understand that might be a solution. That when you click on new permission, it actually starts that designer mode more or less, right? So like, let's see this, because I don't know how many of you know about it, but when you go to profiles, right? And you pick a profile and you start customizing it, which is customize pages. It opens it in a separate tab. You log into that environment, and I do some changes here. Let's say okay, it should tell me that it is in the personalized mode, which it is not telling me right now.
Maybe you'll have to do it manually. Go to the gear, then design.
No, it should tell me. I have done it. I have done it for so many customers. So oh yeah, here we are. It's on customizing. Okay. So at this point, if I come here and I say hide this, and then I go to customer page, I'll have to go from here, and I do some changes. Let's say going to my list and removing the responsibility center and moving it. Okay, sorry, moving the phone number from here to here. Okay, and I say done. It doesn't create an extension for you. It just does something and it says your customizations are done to this profile. Just close this and start using your system. Okay. But in a situation where your customer is doing this on Sandbox and then they have to go live on production, you can actually come here into this more option and you can, I'm not seeing that option where that is related. Okay, sorry, not here. You come back to the main page and here there is an option to export profile. When you do an export profile, it automatically downloads a zip file which have an extension based on what I changed. Okay, now it's up to you. You want to kind of take it as a, as a part of your extension. You are allowed to do that, or otherwise you can come here and say import profile on your production environment, and it can actually upload that package into your production environment. So in the similar lines, I'm thinking, and this is just an assumption, that maybe something happens around similar line for the permissions in future, where you are not actually creating an extension, but you are entering that data, which behind the scene is creating those files which are relevant to the changes that you're making. Does that make sense?
Yeah, then you would be importing the permission sets into the production database.
Right, easily, right? Which is a pain right now.
Well, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A very small but a cool addition into the product is an assisted setup is added in the product for setting up a job queue to post inventory cost to GL and adjust cost item entries. And I'm pretty sure most of us who are in this meeting coming from Dynamics Snap background would have created this custom process for all of our customers. That at some time in the night, this bad job should run and execute this adjust cost posting. So go back to your users. If there is a custom, drop that. Tell them to go to inventory setup. And whenever they need it, just turn off the automatic account posting, cost posting, and they'll see this notification bar on the top. That if you turn off automatic cost post adjustment and posting, you must do tasks manually or schedule a job queue to run it in background. And then you say schedule a job queue entry, and you start using that wizard which is created to create a job queue entry. So you don't need to be an a expert on job queue to set this up. You can just use the assisted setup, which is defined at a time. If you want to see the job queue entry, you can click on this and click finish. And this already set up that job queue entries for me for a defined time. And I can change those times and all. So I'm pretty sure there were mods in previous systems. Keep an eye if this was a mod, you don't need it. You can just tell them to set it up from their inventory setup. Okay. Okay. So now let's talk about one of the cool things that I found out. I read it somewhere, started researching more about it. Seems pretty relevant to customers who like to use the mail merge feature in Business Central or were using it in Dynamics Snap, because I don't remember the exact version, but I know that this feature was available back in Nav somewhere, where you can create more mail merge documents from Dynamics Snap. So I actually stumbled upon it while I was looking into the product, and then I did some research with somebody and read some articles around it. So when you go to your customers, and I was looking for something because these menus keep on changing every day, and then I saw this icon, new icon here, called World Template. And then I tried clicking on it, and there was a wizard which walked me through towards these steps. It says that before you start using this functionality, you should have at least one word template, which was not there. So then there are two ways. Either you can set it up from here, or you can actually go to a word template menu here. You say new template, or you can say it from customer, and it gives you an option to download an empty template so that you can start using that. So when you do that, it'll download a zip file. Okay, it says customer template. Okay, if I extract it here, let me do that. Okay, so it gave me two files, a Word file and a data source file. So now let's open the data source file first, because that's kind of the source of the merge field that we are going to do. What it contains is all the fields from the customer table at this point, all the fields which are available. I'll have to see what happens if I add a table extension to it, but I'm pretty sure that that'll be possible. Once done, let's open this Word document, which is customer template. Now, when you open it, and I can't show you the error message, or can I? Yeah, this is the error you will get. And you just say yes. And then your Word document will populate. And here you can write the mail merge functionality that you want to use. So let's say I want to say, hi, and then I want to use my customer name. I can come to my mailing tab, and I can use this button, insert merge field. I'll say name. And then I can start typing whatever I have to. Or let's say after this, I actually want their addresses. So I can say address. Okay. And I can say address to. Let's say I want the city. And then I want the contact. And then last, I need their phone number. And I'll say, thank you for your business. Your current balance is, let's put the balance. That'll test that does the flow field also work or not. Right, so let's see. Balance underscore means that's balance dollars, local currency. And then let's bold this. Okay. You save this file. That's saved. Close this file. Come back to your Business Central and say next. Now it says that upload the template, which is in this case the Word template that we just updated. So if I go to my download section, go to my customer template and choose my Word file, the template is uploaded and the entity defined is customer. Say next and give it a code. So let's say my customer template and say next. Finish this. So now we have this template called my customer template. So let's start using this. So if I do select more and select all my customers, go to this menu, say Word template, says choose. So that means you have a possibility to have multiple templates if you want. Do next, and then there are different output formats, the way you want it. Do you want it as a Word file? Do you want it as a PDF, HTML, or a text file? So it's up to you, whatever format you want. And then do you want to split these document per customer, or do you want all of them into one single PDF in this case? So you can choose based on what you need and say next, and then say finish. It'll start downloading the PDF in my browser, and when I open it, it gives me that message for each customer that I have selected. Now, as easy as it is here, it's also easier to configure for non-base Microsoft tables, non-Microsoft tables. The only thing is that right now, this menu, which I'm pretty sure we all as developers will be able to see what's the code behind this, is only available on the customer page, the vendor page, and on the contacts page. But if you come here on search for the Word template, you can actually create a Word template for any record. You can say create a new template, add a new entity, and you can pick any table. The only limitation at this point, and I'm sure it's because of Microsoft Word, is you cannot use a table that have any of these characters in it. And I actually tried it, it fails that point. So it's limited to the tables where these special characters are available in the caption. And because I guess these are special characters, so when it goes to that word thing, the template thing, it fails at that point because it can't translate that path into it. Other than that, there is a field length limit on that table, which is 40 characters or so. But that's not a major limit. Otherwise, you can pick any table that is exposed in your tenant to create the word template that you need for the mail merge feature. So it doesn't limit you to 5 tables or 20 tables or 5 different screens. You can just do it in any table that's available. So when I did it for check ledger entry, I'm pretty sure it gave me a data source with all the fields that are available in the check ledger entry, and also gave me a Word template which I can update and import back. So the only limitation at this point is you can't use tables with these kind of characters into their name. Does that make sense? Any confusion, questions?
Well, just to make sure, this would apply even to newly created tables as well.
Yes, yes. Because if you go to the Word template, and that, that's why I'm saying it with confidence, I guess. If you go to this page, when you click on new and go to your create a template and create on add new entity, if I go to my help and support, inspect page and data, the source of this table is all objects with caption with a filter on table. So if I have a table, it'll be part of all objects with caption, and that I can utilize, right? So if I see any extension which is already available from Microsoft, those tables will also be part of it. Okay. Any other questions on this?
I have to add something. I have recently worked on like exporting zip file and like that backslash. I have the problem with that. Like what happened was like what I was doing is exporting sales invoice, and that backslash is creating a folder structure. So probably they're avoiding it.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, because these are Windows limitation, not limitation, but these are reserved keyword per se, if you say so, right? And every system interpreted these words the way they are defined in their platform. So like Windows treat this word as a separate folder being started, or a file name expects after this, right?
Yes, yeah.
So it's based on how that system where you're using this is interpreting that symbol. So like Any special character that we use in NAV or Dynamics Business Central, it goes to SQL and converts it to an underscore. Because that's SQL style, because SQL doesn't understand, like this company name is Cronus USA Inc. dot. In SQL, it gets converted automatically to an underscore because SQL doesn't understand that symbol. So in these ways, there are reserved words that are always limited there. So yeah, that will be a problem for those scenarios.
Yeah, but I think this is like a great addition to the product.
Yeah, this I have seen customer requesting this in the past. Now I'm super happy to see it on Business Central 18.
Yes.
Okay, and then Tanya, I saw your hand raised, or it went down for some reason. There's something?
Hi, sir. How are you?
Hi. I'm good.
Actually, my question was this off topic. This is not regarding this. Can I ask it right now?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So actually, I was into the upgrade process, as in the
Mhm.
cumulative upgrade. It was from Business Central 17.1 to 17.5. That is basically the March update,
Okay.
right? So I got two things under this that okay, so when we are doing the minor update, it's basically from so you can do the platform individually or the platform and the application, right? There are two ways to
Right.
it.
Right.
Right. And then what happened is when I'm doing the update, so what does that mean? That if I'm following the steps already for the platform, I have done it already. You unpublish all of your apps from your previous database,
Mm-hmm.
and then you are extension all the extension from that database, and then you are installing the Business Central components for the from the new update, from as
Right.
in 17.5, right? And then when I attach my DB to that server instance, and so then I am proceeding with the application, right? Application upgrade,
Yeah. Right.
right? So
Right.
it's
Where you'll
basically
convert your database.
so
So
I
go ahead.
yeah, so I just want to know that if that thing, the platform upgrade has already, so the platform upgrade would upgrade your database.
No, so let's understand this. And
Okay.
the easy way to understand it is going back to NAV.
Okay.
So
Right.
let's assume you are using NAV4. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And for some reason, you have to update your operating system on your machine to be Windows 10. Now,
Okay.
Windows 10 doesn't support NAV4 executables.
Right.
So as a partner, what you will go and recommend is, oh, technically convert your database to 2009, and it'll be super easy and you can start doing it. It'll
Right.
hardly take 30 minutes to do it or 45 minutes to do it.
Mhm.
What you are actually doing is behind the scene, you are changing the assemblies or the component that are required to run the application. But that doesn't impact the application, which means the code is still of nav4. The schema of tables is still of nav4. You might
Right.
be using the GUI of 2009, but you can't have web services because that's a part of a code enhancement, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So when you uninstall your extension, the reason behind uninstalling it is you cannot do a technical conversion of your database if you have app installed. So that's a prerequisite to it.
Right.
Okay. So once you uninstall all your apps, then you run that PowerShell command, which will convert your database from 17.1 platform, which is the assemblies and the DLL or the developer environment, right,
Right.
to a
Right.
higher version.
Right.
Once that is done, then you want your code to be updated.
Right. Right.
The code is embedded into these apps. So you
Okay.
publish new versions of app.
Right, right.
Okay.
So, yes. And then I'm publishing each and every application
Extension.
stack, and
Right.
yeah, application stack, which includes of the Microsoft application, sorry, system application, base application, and the system, if it holds.
Right. Right.
Right.
All the apps.
So that's been done and that's been finished. And then when I run the command get nav application, just that. So that is giving me what statement it is giving me database server, then this database name and the application version. So when I see the application version, it's the old one, 17.1.
Right.
So is it the right procedure?
Because if you come down on that, and I don't know, I haven't done a minor update, but if you come down on the same steps, I'm pretty sure there will be something. So where you are, yeah, you publish the new versions of app, which means at this point you have the old code also, which is 17.1, and you have the new code of 17.5.
Right.
But the data that you have is still into the old code.
Right.
Okay. So before you do anything, you need to make sure that your new code is compiling against your new assemblies of the platform. So what you do for that is you run the sync. When you run the sync, it scans that anything that is being changed in these applications is synchronized with the platform. Once that is done, then you run a sync tenant, which just checks that everything looks good. All these apps are okay. There are no problems. Then you run a data upgrade per app.
Yeah, right. So if at all, if I have 20 extension
Apps.
inclusive of the app, Microsoft extension, so I have to follow for every extension this procedure, each and every.
Yes,
So
and the reason is if there is an upgrade code unit inside the new version of extension, that will execute only if you run the data upgrade. And that is the only point when your data from your old app is actually moving to your new app.
Okay.
If your extension, let's say if I build a pertinent extension which does not have an upgrade code unit, which is okay. And the reason of not having an upgrade code unit is because my schema is still similar to what it was into the previous version. There is no changes in my schema. That means I don't need an upgrade logic for that, which means I'm not deleting a table or I'm not changing a table from my previous version. Then I don't have to write my upgrade code unit. Then I don't have to write that upgrade code unit in my extension. And if there is no upgrade code unit and you run data upgrade, that's okay. There is nothing happens in that step.
Okay.
Your synchronized step will move that data from your old schema to new schema. And if there is a data upgrade written, then it will handle that data in that way. In that scenario, whatever that is. So let me, and others, if you are running late, I guess we'll just talk about it for a while. But feel free to drop. I guess we already crossed the time. So if anybody has to leave, that's okay. Not a problem. Okay, so this is, Tanya, this is Microsoft upgrade code unit. So anytime you run data upgrade for base application, all this code runs.
Right.
Okay, it upgrades profile to another version. And there might be some changes and this upgrade code unit is only required because Microsoft is doing some changes. So let's see what they're doing on update items. If I go to update items, it says that, oh, if this is happening, then assign the category ID, which is the keyword for API integration on each item category, right? So if there is a change in your application, then you add these special kind of code unit with subtype upgrade. And they get executed when you run the nav app data upgrade step. All the code unit which are tagged of type upgrade will automatically run at that step. You don't have to do anything manually.
Okay.
So if you have your own extension and you know that you don't have an upgrade step, then you can skip that step for those.
Yeah. I've skipped the steps for those, but I'm just doing the Microsoft upgrade for the extension.
Right.
As the upgrade for the extension I was doing. So when I did that,
after that, I'm pretty sure once everything is done, at the end, and let me open that link. This is the minor hotfix link, right?
Yeah. This is the
yeah. So somewhere here there should be a step. Yes, you might have skipped this step. You'll have to run this step called update application version.
I believe your screen is hanged.
Oh,
Are you
is it?
pointing out to something?
Can you see the web page?
Yeah, I can see the web page.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, here it is. Update application version.
Okay, okay.
Right.
Yes,
So
I
what it
could.
does,
Yes.
it updates that version into your so whatever is visible in your help and support, that comes from this command after this is done.
Okay. And what about if I run the command get nav? Uh, I would like to. Can you
Get
just
nav application,
yeah,
get
get
hyphen
nav
nav
app.
application.
Yeah.
That will also change once you run this.
I did run this, and and when I ran this this command, after that still again I was the database, the application, it says the application version is 17.1.
Okay, let me, and I have never done the minor hotfix, but I keep on doing the major ones. So I'll tell you where it is on the major ones so that you might follow that from there. So in it's sure the last step, and after that you have to run one, I guess data upgrade or something like that. This is, yes, this is changing the application version. Okay.
Okay.
So run the first command as set nav application command, where you
Right.
need to run this with the application version of your new version, which in your case 17.5
Right.
point something something, right? Which is like this, right? With a force into it.
Yeah.
And then you have to run the sync nav tenant
For the
so
tenant.
that gets synchronized.
Right.
And then just it'll take a while, but 1 minute or so, run this step called start nav data upgrade. At this point, your help and support and everything will get updated once you run these three commands into that.
Okay, okay. Change the application version. So is it like okay that I'm seeing that older version, right?
Yeah,
Because I
it
was
means you
trying to
haven't run
see.
this. So
Yeah, I
it
haven't done
specifically
this.
says
I have
this,
step, yeah, the
that
previous
on
step.
your help and support page in the client, you will see an application version, because this is an example of 16, right? 16.0. For an explanation of the number, the version isn't updated automatically when you install an update. If you want version to reflect the version of your update on your own version, you change it manually using this.
So what I did was, if we go back to the previous website, in that it's they're saying the yeah, in the previous website install, yeah, down the line, this portion of this, it is saying that if in help support you are not able to see that, then run this command. I did that. Okay, then the web client, and I then went to the help and support. It showed me the exact version 17.5, and then when I came back to my shell, and then I typed that command get nav application, it was showing me the previous version. So basically now if I will follow your step, the second website, so maybe it will help, right?
Right, it'll help. I run this all the time. I just ran it today while I was doing an upgrade.
Okay, okay, okay.
And that's why I was not
Then
sure about
maybe,
the minor. I thought it'll be part of the minor also. But in major, there is one, this is one of the known step that we always run.
yeah, because I was a little confused that okay, the web client is running, everything is okay, and but I cannot see it there in the command shell, in the shell I cannot see it. So I get a
Right.
little worried that did I even do the step right or wrong, then so yeah, maybe
Okay.
this will help. This will help me, yeah.
Give it a try. Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, thank you, sir. This
Not
was
a
really
problem.
helpful. Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions before we end for today? Yeah, Jignesh, you have something?
No.
Okay. Okay, so if there's nothing, then I guess we can call it for the day, and then we'll meet next week if you have time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarav. It was very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.